Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to our little course here on relieving SI joint and low back pain. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the SI joint, that's that part right in between the bottom of your spine and your pelvis, that little area there. Um, Stands for sacral iliac joint. So the sacral is the bottom part of your spine. The iliac refers to the ilium or the top of the pelvis. And what happens in that area, oftentimes it gets locked up, and it gets locked up because we sit a lot. It absorbs a lot of compression, and it's a survival mechanism for the body. If we're putting our body under that much compression in the lower spine chronically, and if we have a loose, unstable area, it's really not good for the spine and the pelvis. So any tightness in your body, any pain in your body, form a good relationship with it, form a friendship with it. It's really pointing you to something that you could do to improve your situation. It's not an antagonist. It's not a bad guy in our situation or bad girl in our situation. All right. I know it's easy to be angry at something or to be frustrated with something that's causing us pain, but really that pain is pointing at you and saying, hey, look here at something you could do to make this pain go away besides taking a drug. And chiropractors are great. I highly recommend that anybody's total care program involves chiropractors, maybe a good massage therapist. If you've got a trusted osteopath or naturopath for your true medical needs, get those on board, and of course, get yourself a good coach. You got to have a good coach. But all kidding aside, um, uh, pain in the body is feedback. It's communication with the body. That's our body saying, hey, look at me, look here. And if we just throw drugs at it, we're ignoring the body. We're not connecting. So that being said, I'm just gonna jump into this workout I got for you here. So I've got a little mobilization portion here, and I've also got some resistance exercises here. Now, I did my best to find ones that would be challenging for most people and not over challenging for a large majority. But just know some of these might be a little above where you're at right now. Maybe they're a little below where you're at right now. Whatever the case may be, there's ways that you can ascend or descend these exercises, and we'll talk about that as we go through. So the first thing we got here is we got a pretty good run of mobilizations for the SI joint, as you can see. And all these stretches are 1 to 2 sets, 30 seconds to 1 minute holds on all of these. And you can rep these out like you see in the video, or you can just find a position, hold and release, and then go to your second set. So pumping action is great. The SI joint loves pumping, but I just don't want to confuse you with a bunch of reps here. So you can rep them or you can hold them, but you'll feel it. Let your body guide you. Your body's the SI joint loves to be pumped, and your body will let you know when you're getting some release, getting some freedom there. So if you got a stuck SI joint, you will not be able to feel the pumping effect at first. It'll feel like really nothing's moving. You might feel pain in your knees, maybe in your actual hip socket. Pain might be transferring to the low back. So what you're really looking for is that positive feedback from the body. And that feedback will be in the form of movement and motion. And once we start removing stuck areas in the body without fail, we always get a positive response from the body. This is what I call with my clients getting a yes response from the body. So if we're in a stretch that we really need, the body's going to say thank you. And when we're in that position, it's going to give us that yes response. Where consequently, if we're doing a move wrong or if we're overstretching something, it's going to give us a no response, generally in the way of pain. So if any time during these stretches or during these mobilizations and exercises, if you are experiencing pain, back off and train or mobilize within the pain or within the pain-free range. And that's just due to what happens with the body when we put it into pain. It gets a no response and no stimulus, and it was actually resist our mobilization and strengthening efforts if we try to push it too hard in pain. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the inner unit core, and we're going to get the diaphragm, we're going to get the transversus abdominis, we're going to get the intercostals, pelvic floor, and multifidus firing. And those are all just really important inner unit muscles that are near the spine. They help protect the spine. And when these shut down, it creates a lot of tightness, inhibition, and stuckness in the body. So this is called a shortstop position, tummy vacuum, TVA, transversus abdominis. So as you can see here, Paul is drawing his belly button in. So you want to think of this as not so much like you're pushing that belly button towards the spine, but like there is a a string that is attached to the inside of your belly button and tied to your spine, and that string is being drawn towards the spine. So this drawing in action occurs at the exhale, and he's holding, inhale, exhale. I'll go through that one more time. You can do 30 repetitions of that, and we're just going to do 1 to 2 rounds every day. So as he's holding there, what I would like to see you do is in that hold where the tummy is vacuumed in like that, I want you to take conscious effort to do a little slight Kegel here, or for men, act like pull your testicles up into the cavity there, and that will engage the pelvic floor muscles to pull it up. Another real simple cue is act like you're in the middle of urinating and then stopping the flow of urine midstream. Whatever force it takes to stop the urine midstream, that's all the force you need. You don't want to overdo it. We don't want to hypertrophy the prostate here, guys. So what Kegeling is going to do is turn on that pelvic floor, and since you got the diaphragm engaged and all those inner unit muscles with the pelvic floor, you're going to create a nice cylinder compressive effect, top and bottom, and on all sides. Very, very good for protecting the low back. The better protected the low back is, the more mobile your SI joint will be for you. So the SI joint locks up to protect the spine, and if we don't have those inner unit breathing muscles turned on, the SI joint is a lot less likely to free up for you, and that's for safety. All right, and then we got the Don Tigney series here. All right, so this is just a lying 2-leg knee reach, and if you really need this, you'll find it somewhat difficult to be able to perform this. So it's very subtle here, and we're just bringing our knees together. That. And if you don't need this particular one, if it's not doing anything for you, then go ahead and skip it. You'll know right away if you need this exercise. There's no doubt. All right, and then we got the lying knee reach here. Just extending that knee forward. The micro movement of the SI joint is really subtle, but if you're lacking, it will feel like this thing will not move at all, and you might feel a lot of pressure in the front of the knee there. Might travel all the way down the calf and into the ankle. But this is why we spend 30 seconds to a minute in these positions, and you can stay longer if you want. But we'll be doing these every day, so no need to just beat it up on the first day. But 30 seconds or so, you should really start feeling that joint move for you. Um, and you can also play with this toe position. So I like to do this with people where we raise that toe up as we return the knee closer to the body. So we're really almost cramping this area of the SI joint. And then as we return the knee, you lift that toe up and you'll feel extra mobilization. You'll actually feel even more mobilization if you do this seated, sitting up. And I believe there's an example of that here coming up. All right, so we got this other lying SI joint mobilization here. So it's very similar to the happy baby that you see in yoga, except we're just doing this one side at a time. Those of us that have SI joint issues, mine stem from a motorcycle accident when I was in my teens. And it wasn't just until a few years ago that I really knew what the heck was going on in my body. And it was a relief to find out it was the SI joint. But anyway, like things like the happy baby for me for the longest times were extremely frustrating. But now that I know how to mobilize my SI joint, it's a much more pleasant experience for me. All right, so we got this other seated one here. And you can see the instructions here on the screen too, folks. So we're just pulling that knee in, and he's just pumping that SI joint. If you watch his hamstrings, you can see his hamstrings. Contract there, but we're just pushing the knee away from your body while you're resisting the force with your arms. You're holding it for 5 seconds, and then when you release, you draw the knee towards your chest. So again, these moves seem really tiny and minute, but really that's what the SI joint is. It's just a micro movement. It's not an extremely mobile joint. But the micro movement of the SI joint determines in large part, if not all, really, the micro movements of the knee. So if we're experiencing knee pain, if you're having troubles in squats and lunges and on side lunges and what have you, there's probably a lot of compensations going on in the in the lower limb that's caused by that little tiny micro movement of the SI joint not occurring like it's supposed to. So it just takes a little bit of compensation to create um, a big effect downstream. So here we got the seated mobilization with the twist, got one arm behind our back. Mr. Freedom, JP Sears here. As you can see, he's just turning away from that SI joint. Give you one more look at that. I like to tell my clients, plant that heel firmly and then sit upright as upright as you can. Get that twist in. And then once you start feeling mobilizing a little bit, mobilize that big toe too. I like to see that big toe going up and down. You get an extra pumping effect, a safe pumping effect in the SI joint without having to put it under load. Another similar one here. Those of you that have trouble with your depth in your squats, you'll really appreciate this stretch. Let's do another side. So again, similar with this other one that we referenced up above, we're just using that knee to push away from the body, and we're using our arms to resist that. And then when we relax, we pull the knees back towards the chest here. So that's right around here. You can see there's a good pumping effect here. And he's pulling it in. And another thing I do with clients is while they're here, I have them pump their pelvis under and out, under and out. So if you can imagine while you're watching this video, okay, now imagine he's flexing his big toe and tucking his pelvis under. Then when he relaxes his big toe, he's letting his pelvis go back. So that's two more areas of pumping safely in the SI joint that isn't really happening here. Last one, just a straight up stretch here. Similar to the seated position one, but we're getting a little more stretch here in the side body. At the bottom of your rib cage, you have like your quadratus lumborum. That's where your internal obliques, they are on the back side of your body here. But this opens them up a little bit as well. Not a whole lot, but opens them up a little bit. It gets them at least into the picture. Pretty straightforward there. And if you got tight SI joints, you're probably not going to have this kind of range of motion, especially right at the start, and that's okay. Much like if you ever been to a yoga class, what do they tell you in yoga? You're not going to look like the instructor, right? If you if you look like the instructor doing the poses and you could do them just as good as the instructor, you'd probably be doing something else, unless you really just love yoga. All right, so that's the mobilization component. Again, 1 to 2 sets of all of those, starting with the uh, TVA vacuum, 30 reps on that. For everything else, it's 30 to 60 seconds in your stretch position. So whether that be pump it out through reps, just one hold, let it pump, relax, go back into the stretch again. Whatever way you choose to pump the SI joint, using foot action, using hip action. I just encourage you, just no matter what the videos say, just tune into your body and just let your body guide you through the motion. Don't be afraid to turn your knees in and out a little bit. Don't be afraid to change body positions, raise up, raise down, do stuff with your hips, just play around in there. It's lack of doing that and playing around in that area, which is why I get stuck. All right. So again, we can do these every day, folks. We can do these every single day. I would recommend, I'd recommend putting, 6 weeks into this daily. When you get good at it, when you get to memorizing the exercises, literally you'll get through this in 20 minutes or so. You can do this in the morning. You can do this in the evening, maybe do your mobilizations in the morning, do your exercises at night or vice versa. But it's really worth it. Stuck SI joint can cause a lot of problems. And to be honest with you, there isn't a lot of good therapy out there for it. Because typically if you have an SI joint issue, it's going to manifest somewhere else. It's going to manifest in the knees. It's going to manifest in the low back. It can even pop up in your shoulders and in your neck. And, therapists, they're paid to address the code that they're given, and whatever code they're given by the medical provider that referred you to the therapist, that's what insurance is going to cover. So there's really nothing they can do about it. They can't do anything else. They have to address what they've been told to address. All right, so we're going to get into the corrective exercises. Again, these can be done every day as well. I just recommend that you just take it easy. You might be feeling really good when you get out there and it says 1 to 2 sets. You might want to just blow through 2 sets. I'd recommend just go through this one set of everything. Don't even get any close to failure. Just get through the exercises, get in the rhythm of the supersets, and get familiar with the moves and the exercises. And then as you know how your body recovers, how your body handles this training stimulus every single day, then you can really get into, how much you can push it and how much you're recovering in just one day. So start off with the plank variation here. So this is a pretty challenging plank variation, one being on the ball. You don't have to be on the ball, but I recommend it. It's good for the shoulder stabilizers. It's good for the total body recruitment. So if you can do this at all on a Bosu ball, I'd recommend it. Again, if you don't have one, you just got the floor, that's fine as well. And if you just, if you can't quite do this version of it yet, which is like a push-up variation. So we're starting out plank on elbows, going to one hand, and we're just holding, going back down, switching hands, holding, going back down. So if you can't quite do that for the recommended number of reps and sets, 1 to 2 sets, I believe I got 8 to 10 reps here. Yeah, 8 to 10 reps. Then just do a standard plank. Just do a standard plank on that Bosu ball. Whatever's matches the ability where you're at, whether it be on the elbows or on the hands in like a push-up support position. Just utilize that. Or maybe you can do a couple of these, but you got to finish on your elbows. That's fine. That's fine. Whatever you can do, nothing is set in stone. It's your body. And then this next one is a fun one. Don't see anybody doing this one in the gym. These Czech Institute exercises are very, very effective. I call them esoteric exercises for a reason, guys. You don't see anybody doing them, but they are deadly effective. These are exercises you feel within a matter of a couple weeks, just boom, turning right on. But as you can see here, she's just holding this reverse plank position here. Takes a lot of core demand. It takes a lot of lower body demand. So your hamstrings and your glutes are firing hard to keep you in that position. But while we're doing that, we're moving the ball from side to side. And again, the repetition stops when your shoulders want to start sliding. So notice how it's almost like there's a nail pinned through the middle of her chest there. And that nail is keeping her right there. That's what we're looking for. As you get good at it, you can flirt with having the shoulders pivot there a little bit. But at no time do you want them coming up or losing control of the ball. It's all about controlling the ball. 6 to 8 reps on that, 1 to 2 sets. And again, these are supersetted. That's what these brackets mean here. Okay, so this means you do this exercise, then without any rest, you go to this one, and then you rest 60 seconds, and then you start over this one, 0 rest, do this one, 60-second rest, 1 to 2 sets. So if you do that, you're going to have, if you go through all these, you're going to, 2 sets, you're going to have close to 20 working sets, which is about a good training day. All right, then we go over to the side plank. So this one, you got to be very careful, okay, because you can do some damage. And you guys may notice I get critical of the actors in these videos. I'm just a coach. I got a coach's eye. And so if you notice here, one thing she's doing that I would be critical of is her hand isn't quite stacked under her shoulder. See how it's out just a little bit? You want that directly under the shoulder joint, so it's actually stacked. That ball and socket joint of the shoulder, there isn't a whole lot of surface area there. So Paul Chek says it's like a seal balancing a ball on its nose. So there isn't a lot of surface area there. So you want to make sure you're nice and aligned. You got a lot of integrity in your alignment there. But with tight SI joints, this is something you might want to start out on your elbow, because this lowering and going back up is something that can, that tightness in the SI joint can transfer up the spine. So, and also, you might have some issues with the knee, like your lateral collateral ligament there on the outside of your knee. If your SI or your IT bands aren't quite strong enough, and your TFL up by your hip isn't quite strong enough, that it might create a little bit of a bow down there by the knee. So be very mindful of that. This isn't about the ego. This isn't about, getting it just the way the picture says. If there's a break in the chain down around the ankles where there's, it's not quite stable, it's not quite liking the exercise, up in the knees is not quite liking the exercise, or in the back or in the shoulders, not quite liking the exercise. Again, we can modify this down. So maybe you do a few reps like this fully, and then we drop down, and rest on a knee, and we do our side planks up from the knee. But what these exercises are designed to do is to hit the inside of the core, the outside of the core, front, back, and with the breathing emphasis that we have in our mobilization portion is really going to create a nice cylinder effect and protect the spine. The better the spine is protected, the more the SI joint will mobilize for you. But we have to go and mobilize it, otherwise it won't. This one's tricky. This one is the biggest. It's like a magic trick because a lot of people, they'll see this on their exercise program, like, what's going on? What's happening here? So if you notice, we got right leg, left hand coming up off the ground ever so slow, and it just barely coming up. So the emphasis of this is I want to lift that up only to the point where I can slide a piece of paper under it. Now, you don't necessarily need this stick across your back, but if for some reason you can't maintain this alignment of the head and the hips like this nice straight neutral spine, if you can't do that, then get a stick. You can tuck that stick in the back of your shorts and it'll shoot right up the top of your head there. Make sure you have some good underwear on or wash the stick when you're done. Learn that lesson by experience. So, and if you notice here, look at his belly, fills up with air. Paul's so deliberate. And then he's drawing it up just like we did in those breathing exercises. So the better you get at that, the easier this exercise will be. But a lot of times people see this exercise like, well, what's the point of this? Well, wait until you try it. Wait until you try it. A lot of people have a lot of trouble with this, just lifting it up the ground just enough to get a piece of paper under. So we're doing 12 to 15 reps of those per side. It's going to take a little while. It's going to take a little while, but it's well worth it. All right, so here we've got some chin-ups. This one might be difficult for you guys. If you're not into pull-ups, if you haven't done many pull-ups, don't get intimidated by this. What you can do is you can take a band and you can string a band along the top of that bar. You just knot it off on one side, or if you've got a place where you can hang the band, hang it. If you've got loop bands, you just put one loop through, wrap it around the bar, put a loop through, pull it tight. Now you can hang your knee or your feet through that, and you got some support from the band. But one thing I really like to do with people, it's super simple. So see how this guy's on a box? Like, I would bring that box under you, and instead of just doing this Mac Daddy hold here, which is, this is not the exercise. So the exercise is you got to go back down and then get yourself back up, hold, lower yourself back down, get yourself back up, hold, lower yourself back down. We're doing that for 4 to 6 reps. But instead of just climbing all over the place like a monkey, you get that box under you and you just jump up and hold yourself. And you're going to hold yourself for a count. You know, if you're really strong, you hold yourself for a count of 5 and then lower yourself as slow as you can. So we're like a 5 hold and a 5 lower. If you don't have that 5 hold and 5 lower, just work for the 5 lower. I'd rather see you be able to lower yourself slow and controlled under load for 5 seconds. That will get you up to your chin ups way faster than doing band assisted or lat pull downs or even this thing right here. So again, don't do it quite so much like the picture. What we're really wanting to focus on is being able to get 4 to 6 reps where I can control the tempo all the way down for 5 seconds. Now, you don't need this exercise anymore when you can do 4 to 6 reps for 2 sets, holding for 5, lowering for 5 without any problem. So when we think about, we already talked about the core muscles, but along with the core muscles, we have some supporting prime mover muscles, and our lats, which is the backside of our body here. Those are your rowers, right? Your rowers and your pull downers, your chin uppers. But those are really important, along with the gluteus maximus, with supporting your pelvis, supporting your spine. So the stronger your lats are, the stronger your glutes and your lower half are, the less strain there is on the pelvic area. The less strain there is on the pelvic area, the less need there is to tighten up that region. And the less tightness we have in the region, the less that mobility demand when we go into a squat, when we bend over, when we go into a lunge position. And that's just not in the gym. This is in life. But when we go into those positions, that tightness is going to travel up and down the chain, and it's going to find an unstable area. And that's where disc bulges happen. That's where knee injuries happen. It's literally tightness in the kinetic chain, and the energy's got to dissipate somewhere. And so it's not being equally flexed out in that area that it normally would, in this case, the SI joint. And because it's not being flexed out like it normally would, it's traveling down and finding an unstable area. And that's where the energy is releasing. So you've got kinetic energy getting built up and being dispersed through an unstable area, and that's how injury occurs. It's not complicated. None of this is complicated. All right, now we got some more lat work, and we're also doing some glute work here. So if you can notice, she's bent over, she's sunk into this position here. And a lot of people would look at this position and say, this is low back position. Well, it is kind of, but she's also using a heck of a lot of glutes here to maintain this position. So we're just doing alternate rows. You can use dumbbells, you can use kettlebells, but I like the alternating row because it forces a lot of integrity in the twist position. So we're avoiding twist on one side and twisting on the other, right? So we're not getting too far out of control, but the torsion and the anti-torsion combined or provide double whammy benefits, big bang benefits for your back and ultimately your low spine, SI joint region. So that one's 10 to 12 reps per side. This is another one that may or may not be too advanced for you at the time. If it is too advanced for you, there's a couple different ways you can scale this down. So we'll just look at the normal version here. Pretty self-explanatory. Now you're going to want to play around with position with your own personal body. I've never found anybody that just gets right down and everybody's got the same, 45-degree knee angle or whatever it is. And, everybody, "Oh, yep, that's hitting the glutes. Boom, there it is." Without fail, every time I get in someone in this position, they're feeling it in the calves or they're feeling it in the hamstrings. They're feeling it in the quadriceps. They're feeling it in the low back. They're basically feeling it everywhere but the glutes. So play around with foot position there. Work on digging your heel in and pushing off of that heel to really, really turn the glutes on. And not to be a weirdo or anything, but honestly, when you get up in this position, like if you can't feel your glutes firing, when you get up to this top position, just use that hand and smack your ass. It works. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. It works. Now, so the scaled version of this is obviously 2 feet. So that's the ultimate scaled version. So we just go to a 2-foot variation and you just do hip bridges that way. Or the in-between would be press up with 2 feet, lower with 1 foot. Press up with 2 feet, lower with 1 foot. Or you can do a few repetitions like this and finish off with the scaled down version, one of the 2 scaled down versions. But whatever you need to do to be able to hit this 10 to 12 repetition range per side. All right, now we're going to continue to work on the outer unit core now. We've already worked with the inner unit core. It's just a small movement here. Notice how she keeps her chin tucked until gravity basically opens her head up for her, tucks her chin first, and then she's curling up. So a lot of integrity, slow, controlled movement here. Now, before you get started, as you notice here, you want to have your tongue on the roof of your mouth. And basically the reasoning behind that is you have these muscles in here down, your swallowing muscles, your tongue muscles, but your hyoid muscles in here. And what those do is when you engage those hyoid muscles by putting the tongue on the roof of your mouth and bringing your chin in like so, for one, we just, as a population, we suck at this. Straight up. Whenever you see someone hunched over like this and they got that ball on the top of their neck, good luck. Good luck getting them to do this. It's always like they just can't do it. So this helps strengthen that mechanism just a slight tiny bit. But also what it does is it takes these sternocleidomastoids out of the movement at all. So a lot of times you go into the gym, you see people that do a lot of core work and they've got these huge neck muscles. And it might be impressive, but the thing is those muscles aren't supposed to take over that action because they're not the muscle group that's responsible for that. That's kind of like their secondary role. Well, the thing is it takes these muscles, I don't know, 40 seconds to fatigue or so, where it takes these hyoid muscles, depending on condition, they are upwards of 5 minutes to fatigue, and they recover very quickly. They recover in less than a minute. Whereas these guys take about 40 seconds to fatigue and anywhere between 40 seconds and a minute and a half to recover. So if we can imagine how important the neck area is in the body, if we start using this as our deep inner unit stabilizer, we start getting neck issues, start getting jaw issues. Once we start getting jaw issues, TMJ starts happening. TMJ gets out of alignment, and then all sorts of problems happen downstream from there. All right. Now this one is single arm farmer carry with this. And you get some pretty cool music with this video too. Boy, I have to say, Jordan Maxwell, huh? Well, I have to say, I filmed this, I don't know, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and my single arm farmer carries with gait emphasis have gotten so much better than this. Like, boom, there's proof you can get better with age. I was a young man, about 43 when I filmed this. But anyway, what makes it gait emphasis is notice my upper body and the twist that occurs. I'm adding a twist in. And as opposed to like just a standard single arm farmer's carry, where we're just very much like this, upright and straight, and just moving basically at the hips, um, at the hip joint. We're not moving any of this. Well, that does not mimic what happens in gait. So if we think about walking with a heavy, with a heavy implement, well, yes, we want to be stable while we're carrying that thing. Of course we do. If we're carrying something really heavy, we don't want to be swinging around. But we want to be able to train in that dynamic range, because if I can hold a 70, 80 pound kettlebell and maintain parallel or aligned shoulders and hips and go into a twist while I'm on a single leg phase of stabilization, because that's what gait is, right? We start out on two legs, then we take a step, we're on single leg phase with an upper body twist, and then we plant, and then we switch single leg phases with another upper body twist. So we lose that twist in gait. We don't need it until we get up to jogging in most cases, or walking fast, but we just lose it. Even I watch people run, I watch them jog, and they have no twist. It's this. Right now, if we think about, if the natural motion of the spine is more like a serpentine motion. If you watch somebody walk in slow motion and you watch their spine, it does this serpentine, and that serpentine is literally dispersing energy out, right? If you take a rope and you go like this and you create a bunch of waves in it, you can get that rope going. Whoo, whoo, whoo. But the minute you lose that wave, it just stops, right? The kinetic energy just stops. It's no longer working with you. It's working against you. So the same thing's happening in your spine. When we lose that serpentine motion that happens with the twist in the gait, when we lose that, our kinetic energy starts working against us. And instead of that energy traveling, from the feet up to the top of the head and back down, and as it's doing that, it's dispersing out our fingers and our toes. It's just kind of getting stuck, and it's going to get stuck. It's going to get stuck and get released in areas that are unstable. So adding that weight under load adds us the ability to control that weight through gait in single phase and under a twist, so that when we do grab something heavy, we are much more proficient at maintaining our posture and not having to twist. We can actually resist that twist a lot better, because we know how to control the twist, and we strengthen the twist and the anti-twist properties within our upper body. All right. So the rep schema on that one is kind of weird. It's 12 to 15. That's per side. And you're going to want to pick a weight to where, you're walking with that thing for about a minute and a half per side. What you should expect to feel, if you're doing it properly, is you're going to feel burn in the opposite side, obliquus area. So right in here, you can see, but right in this area of the body, you'll feel that. So if I'm carrying it with my right hand, I'm really going to feel that towards the end range of the set. You're really going to feel that on the left side. And same, if I'm carrying with my left arm, you're really going to feel that on the right side. And you're going to feel that hoop that happens in that sling area. It goes around here and comes around the body and runs up the back here. You're going to feel that turn on. And that's what the beauty of a lot of these exercises are, is you really feel the interconnected nature of the body. So I get excited about this stuff. Been working 14 hours and I'm all of a sudden getting a second win. But anyway, that is your SI joint and low back relief program. I hope you enjoy it. There's a lot more where that came from. Leave a comment in the group, in the community. Leave a post on your experience with this exercise. Again, do this for 4 to 6 weeks every day, and listen to your body. Some days you might be able to go a lot harder than others. And at any point, if any of these feel dangerous or painful, discontinue and find a scaled down version of the exercise. All right, guys, love to hear how this goes for you. If you get some relief in that SI joint, and when you do get relief in that SI joint, I would be shocked if you didn't also experience great relief in the shoulder area, great relief in the knee area, and your squats and lunges and deadlifts should improve greatly.